Hello, my name is Eve. Thank you for checking out this video. And what I want to talk about right now is the mind-body connection and what it is, how it works, and some ways to develop it so that it works more efficiently and is more supportive for you on a daily basis. So the mind-body connection is something that came about because us in the Western world had Descartes, the philosopher, who came up with this idea of not trusting the senses and only believing that he existed because he thought, I think, therefore I am. And I've been very upset with Descartes for a long time because he did this whole mind-body separation thing, and where they don't have that in like other areas of the world. And just a little side note is that I wondered if something had happened in his early childhood which made him distrust the senses. And I read that his mother did pass away when he was an infant. So that kind of experience could give people major trust issues and distrust of the body if he was not held in an emotionally supportive way. So it makes sense that he would find a way of coping with the experience. But unfortunately, he was just like really popular. But anyhow, so I do like the Eastern half of the world's way of thinking about things, where it's all a system, and it's all part of the same system. We have electrical impulses moving through the body. We have energy moving through the whole body, and moving through our whole organism. And that whether the energy manifests in thoughts, or the energy manifests in physical sensations, or it manifests in emotions, that it's all the same energy that's moving through. It's just manifesting in different ways. And for me, this also really means that if there's mental illness or physical illness, that the roots can be the same of a mental illness or of a physical illness. It's just manifesting differently. And so being able to repair from a medical or a mental illness, it does go back to tracing the same roots in the person and understanding where the dysfunction came from. And it's a very different way than Western medicine. I also think Western medicine is great. I mean, obviously, there's so many things that we're able to do with it. But I think that being able to use both approaches, where you're treating symptoms at the same time that you're working on the person as a whole, as an integrated unit, how they think, how they feel, how they physically register their bodies, if that's also like really essential for true healing, for health, and so that was like a little bit of a side note, but it is related to the importance of the mind-body connection. So, because when you have a solid mind-body connection, and there's a lot of clarity and cohesion in the understanding yourself, understanding your feelings, understanding your relationships to other people, it relieves the system. Clarity does relieve the system. And then your body doesn't have to work as hard around different things, and your mind doesn't have to work as hard around different things. So working on the mind-body connection can be a very powerful undertaking. So just a little bit more about what are those different parts. So we have thoughts in our mind, and these thoughts can be conscious, so that means we know what our thoughts are, or they can be unconscious, so that there are thoughts that we're actually thinking, but we don't know that we're thinking them, so they're kind of buried further back, and we have ideas and beliefs, but we don't actually, we aren't not aware of them. So it can be a fascinating thing to work through layers of your mind and notice, oh, okay, these are conscious thoughts, and then I'm getting to more thoughts that are more normally unconscious, but now that I'm paying deeper or closer attention, they're becoming conscious. So that's one thing that happens when you take up a meditation practice, is you become aware of all these thoughts that you didn't even know were going on. And I don't think that the thoughts start because you start meditating. I think the thoughts are always there, but meditating and bringing your attention to them makes them more clear. So just an idea. And also the difference between the conscious and the unconscious is interesting too, because once you know something, it's not unconscious anymore. But the unconscious always keeps filling up with new stuff, because there's so much stimuli we take in on a daily basis that we can't possibly digest or process all of it. So when we don't, it kind of goes into a backlog, which would be the unconscious, which is much larger than the conscious mind. So there's always new unconscious thoughts to uncover. So it's a never-ending process. And I think it's more of a way of life than it is, oh yeah, I'm just going to finish this and then I can go back to something else. But if you just like accept it as a way of life, then just that's how it is. There's just going to be unconscious becoming conscious all the time. So that's a little bit about the mind. And then about the body. We have physical sensations in the body. We exist in a space and a time. So you feel your body in the room that you're in. You notice the clothes, how your clothes feel on your body, or if any physical objects are touching your body. You might have different sensations coming from inside your body, like twinges or hunger pangs or indications of thirst. So you might notice a lot of different physical sensations coming from your body. Sometimes you can feel your pulse or your heartbeat. So it'd be like the fluid systems in your body. So the body is a huge place. It's really easy to pigeonhole it and stuff it to the side, or like just take care of your body when you need to and then ignore it the rest of the time. It's really easy to do that. It's a very different way of life to actually like live in your body and embrace all the sensations that you feel as part of being alive, as part of like the richness of this life that we get to live. We have limited time, so it's a really beautiful experience to live in your body, even when there's pain. And not that I want to glorify pain by any means, but it's you getting to be alive is better, I think, in general. So even if there's pain, that kind of reminds you that you're alive. So that's the body from a physical sensation point of view. Then there is the body unconscious. The body conscious, like you're feeling physical sensation. Then if you're disconnected from your body, there may be a lot of physical sensations happening, but your brain isn't registering them because you've kind of disconnected from it. And so that happens a lot too. But one reason it can be good to get back in touch with your body more is that, for example, if you have a bad back or you have certain ways of moving that are not healthy for you, getting more in touch with your body allows you to feel those ways and to make changes or corrections. So, for example, I'm going to adjust how I'm sitting on this cushion because I notice the floor is feeling a little hard. And then the sun's in my eyes, so I'm going to move over a little bit. So I make these little changes based on noticing how my body is feeling in the environment, and maybe moving out of the sun a little will save me a headache later. So, you never know how these things are going to play out, but that's just an example of the benefits of like being able to receive feedback from your body in present time. So now the other thing is that there is this body unconscious in terms of the feeling of energy in your body, or the feeling of different emotions in your body, or past events or experiences. So when you're working on the body-mind connection, you may notice as you dive more deeply into the experience of your body that certain parts of your body might be held in the past. I'll give an example of this. I spent a lot of time ice skating, ice dancing in a position called Killian position. And that is where the man puts his right hand onto the lady's right hip. So even though I don't do that much anymore at all, there is still some holding of the muscles in my right hip where I'm used to having to give a very strong sense of connection to the man's right hand because I just did that for so many years. So my body is still working on being in the present and not needing to hold those muscles like that because it's not necessary. I don't have to do that anymore. And so it will save me, imbalance or extra energy spent there or extra tension in my hip because of holding those muscles. So over time, that stuff can really add up. So as I improve my mind-body connection, I become more present, and then I can realize all these different ways in which I might be holding something that's old, like old news, or something that an old habit that I don't need anymore. So it can be really freeing to let go of those old tensions like that. But I mean, a lot of people have them from all different sources. So it's just something unique to the person, how they use their body over the course of their lifetime, and where they are. Some parts of them may still be stuck in that past or that old habit, even though they don't need it anymore. A big part of the mind-body connection, like healing it, is being able to recognize, is there something that I'm doing that I don't need to do anymore? Like, can I save myself energy and effort and not do this thing anymore that I actually don't need because it's not applying to my life anymore? Like, it's just not where my life is anymore. So that takes a lot of perspective also to be able to notice if you have an old habit or a coping strategy or something that's just like an old way of handling things that's just not where it needs to be anymore. Because it's okay to do it a different way, or another way would actually be more appropriate or feel better. So it can be so tricky to make those kinds of changes. But when you make them, it feels good, even though it's unknown, because you're going to feel a freedom that comes in, and the fit. This is a weird concept, but like between your thoughts and your body, there's a fit, and the fit is going to feel better when you let go of old things that are no longer relevant to your life. There's going to be an improvement in the fit between how your thoughts and your physical sensations work together. So yeah, I don't know a better way to explain it, but to me it feels like plugs and like a socket, and it's just like the fit is just better when I let go of those old things. And then my emotions are able to flow more easily. So something else about the mind-body connection is the more improved it gets, the easier it is for your emotions to flow through your system and not get stuck somewhere, or not get like pushed off or compartmentalized or ignored, because it's just all flowing. So you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm noticing this anger coming up right now, or I'm noticing this grief coming up right now, and I'm going to let it move. Like, it's okay. I can manage the feeling, and I don't have to stop myself from experiencing it. I can allow that to be in my experience, because life changes. Everything is temporary. So it's just going to keep moving through, and I don't have to attach to it. I don't have to try to hold on to it. Things are just going to keep moving. So when you have a really nice flow through your whole organism, that is a lot easier to do. When there isn't as much flow and you feel more disconnected from yourself, it's hard to let go of things because you think you're never going to get them back, or you don't understand them well enough. So it's like you hold on to it because you're trying to understand it, or there's just there's more fear of losing yourself because you already don't feel very connected. So it's a fascinating thing where when you've got a good mind-body connection and a good flow, you don't have this fear of losing yourself in the same way. It's just you just like, you feel more connected to yourself. So when anything comes in, or like a thought or a feeling or a physical sensation comes, it's easier to just like see it and let it go, because you still feel like you're present with yourself. You know, you still feel like there's somebody there. So you don't have to cling to these like attention items, you know, a physical sensation or an emotion or a thought. They stop being as important in a way, because you feel like you just exist more as an entity and as a solid unit. You know, when everything's connected, it makes you feel more solid, as opposed to when you're disconnected from yourself. Then you're always trying to put things together, and it's a lot of work. So it's an interesting, subtle phenomena, this whole like mind-body connection and what it is, and there's a lot of different ways to work on it. You know, you can work on it through anything, but what matters is the mindfulness, and mindfulness is being present mentally, and I guess being present physically too. It's a way of being present with what's happening and present with yourself. So you're present of your internal experience, internal environment, and you're present with your external experience. And then when you practice mindfulness, you're checking in with yourself more. You know, what thoughts am I having right now? What physical sensations am I having? What emotions am I having? So this sort of like general checking in with yourself on a regular basis, because you're exploring how you're showing up in various circumstances in your life. So it's bringing this awareness to how you live everyday life. Mindfulness brings awareness to how you live in everyday life. And then that gives you a lot of choices, because then you can decide, how do you want to do? Am I happy with how I'm doing this? Do I want to do it in a different way? How do I feel? What kind of feedback am I getting from my emotions about this experience? You know, sometimes we put ourselves in situations that aren't very good, and then our emotions are speaking, but we don't listen to them, or we don't give them any credit, or we talk ourselves out of our feelings. But once you start to respect the mind-body connection, you can't ignore your emotions anymore. Like, they speak loudly, and they want you to know things. And you're like, you kind of feel like you have to pay attention to them and not act on your feelings, but use your feelings as information, and that may influence your behaviors. So it's a very different way of going through life, when you start to give importance and sanctity to that connection process in yourself. So that's some ideas. All right, thanks for listening. I'll have my website in the links if anybody has any questions or wants to connect with me further. Thank you.